Well, this morning, the official Supreme Court decision was released that had been leaked to the public several weeks ago that has overturned the nearly 50-year-old decision that led to legal abortion across this country in the case of Roe versus Wade. Um, with this, there are several states now where abortion is completely illegal, and women are being reduced to the status of being uh, incubators, for lack of a better term. Um, Even in the case of rape, incest, um, the infant child, whatever, not being viable, anything like that, the woman is forbidden to end that pregnancy. The result of this is going to be a resurgence of illegal abortions, back alley abortions, amateur abortions, and women will pay the price and be injured or even die because of this. My level of anger about this as a woman is tremendous, and as a human being, even more so. Um, Once again, women are being put to second class status. Um, Men are allowed, so to speak, to, and are encouraged actually, to sow some wild oats before marriage. Meanwhile, women are expected to remain pure as the virgin snow, pun intended, until the point that they say I do when they're taken off to their marriage bed. There is something very, very wrong about that. Um, Clarence Thomas, whose wife Ginny is a very real suspect in the January 6th insurrection, um, is also encouraging the rethinking of the right to equal marriage, to contraception, even at this point. How long will it take before they begin to rethink women's right to vote, which we have had for barely 100 years at this point? Because these people are calling themselves constitutional originalists and are basing their decisions upon what was normal and known in the 1700s. Well, let's see. The Second Amendment, people had single shot weapons. So bullets weren't invented until the early to mid 1800s, as I recall. So there would be no conception of a multiple shot firearm. So one would think at that point then that anything more than that would be illegal using that logic. Women did not have the right to vote at that time, so that could be thrown out. The Texas GOP at this point wants to throw out the Civil Rights Act that enabled everybody to vote, be they white, black, brown, Asian, whatever, as long as they were a US citizen, otherwise legally permitted to vote, doing away with Jim Crow laws and all that bullshit that went on. This is a far-reaching decision. It is, weirdly enough, far more than the violation of a woman's right to choose. This is potentially the violation of many more people's rights. Clarence Thomas needs to remember that in 1700 and those years, people of different races were not allowed to marry. So if he wants to use that constitutional originalism, that's going to affect his marriage to a white woman. He can't have it both ways. He can't say, well, I support this for these things, but otherwise, times have changed and things are different. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It can't work that way. We cannot support that kind of thinking. I would like to think, but I'm a realist, that come November and the next elections, people will get off their sorry fucking asses and vote a progressive agenda, because the regressives in the Republican Party are taking us back to a time we should not be seeing again. This was not a better time. We had women dying from back alley abortions. We had people being lynched because they had the temerity to try to vote or, God's forbid, love somebody who didn't have the same skin tone that they had. This is wrong, and it should not be allowed to stand. Every Supreme Court justice that I can recall in my lifetime who has been quizzed on whether they would be a suitable candidate for the bench has been asked, where do you stand on Roe versus Wade? And every single goddamned one of them stated in their response that it was settled law and they would not act against it. And now all of these fucking conservative justices have voted to overthrow a woman's right to choose. Now, I would call that perjury. I don't know if you would, but I certainly would. They swore under oath that they believed Roe was settled law and that they would not readdress it. And they lied. And this is what's happening now. So get to the polls come November and vote. And before that, talk to everybody that you can and explain to them how this could possibly affect them. They may be a political conservative, but remind them, if you've got a woman that you know who is a political conservative, remind her that using these people's logic, her right to vote could be taken away from her. And how would she like that? Remind her that if her daughter is raped, should she be forced to carry the child of a person who violated her, who committed an act of violence upon her, who could very well legally be allowed to demand visitation with the result of that violation? Because that happens too. Don't think it doesn't. These are all very important things to discuss with the people that you know who need to realize how stupid, abysmally backward today's announcement is. Because this isn't just a slippery slope. This is a fucking avalanche, and it's already starting to slide down the hill. And you need to do everything that you can in your power to stop it. Because it will only get worse from here if we allow this shit to continue and we allow our rights to be trodden upon and taken away from us. This is supposed to be America, land of the free, home of the brave. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And right now, I'm only seeing that happening for a very small part of the population while the rest of us get fucked. And that's just not right. And with that, I'm going to end this rant. Might be back later. Don't know. But I'll definitely be back at some point in the next few days to a week. And we'll see what goes on from there. Thanks for listening to my bitching and screaming and moaning because I am so very fucking angry. Later, guys. Try to have a good weekend if you can.